Turbo, Deloitte. Known for her expertise in both talent acquisition and HR generalist function, Ma'am is a dedicated professional who excelled at managing the entire employee life cycle and building a collaborative work environment. Please lend me a hand in welcoming Ma'am to this event. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Swati W. Ma'am, Lead Talent Management at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Ma'am has an extensive career which has spanned more than 17 years. She has past work with ITC, Larsen and Tobruk. Recently, she had a key position at Godrej and Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. With over a decade of experience with expanding multiple industries, including agriculture, FMCG, infrastructure, and manufacturing, she brings truly the multifunctional perspective to her work. Swati ma'am holds a master degree in HR from Tata Institute of Social Science, also a PGM ABM degree from MANAGEx Hyderabad from the batch 2006 to 2008.
Sir, go out and check out. Go out. Yes, correct.
So today the flow of conversation would be that first we go around and take an opening remark on our panel. After that we will try to build upon that conversation, one or two more questions. Then we'll open the floor to the audience and then we'll have the closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few years, we have realized that world is changing. It's changing fast and either we can catch up to it or we get left behind. When many of us entered our adulthood, that is like when we entered our UG college in 2022, the COVID pandemic struck India and it acted as a global pause button, a stark reminder of volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world. It changed the nature of our reality. The period didn't just interrupt our lives, it fundamentally altered the nature of work. It exposed the fragility and of an established career path. It accelerated a shift towards a digital-driven economy, a world where work was possible without being present in the offices. Today we'll be hearing from our panel how to prepare for this challenging world. For opening remark, I would like to start with Swati ma'am, like how this term VUCA, that is volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous word, is used in practical terms. What does it mean for professionals in agribusiness or in rural markets, and how does it impact our job role going forward?
Great. I'm audible, right? Yes. Okay, perfect. I think life came a full circle for me right now because I first heard the word VUCA right here in MANAGEx. As you know, I was like you 2006-2008 batch. Besides, I was just sharing that I got placed in ITC, Danish company, 2nd Jan 2008, and the world seemed very rosy. So the first thing that I did, like any of you would do the moment you're placed, is forget all the acronyms, all the theory. So I also thought, okay, VUCA is okay. I just heard about it, but my life will not get affected to it because I got highly stressed into jump. So Jan to June, I was in the la-la land that, oh great, I'm starting off my career, ITC is a great place to start off. Only to realize that the word that I just vaguely remembered called VUCA will come and slap me in the face because 2008 is the year of financial crisis. So June 2008 You can always control how you respond to situation because things are beyond control many times. But again, don't worry, things are not that dark or gloomy. I'm assuming all of you are early 2000 born people, so you have seen many changes already. I mean, you are born around the time of 9/11, where the world changed matter of seconds. While I know you would be newborn or something, but directly or indirectly you did experience that change. 2008, I'm sure you have experienced the change one way or the other. You have seen Trump get elected twice, so you have seen a change. You have seen demonetization, and I think you have seen the mother of all changes, which is COVID. So don't worry, things change. Change is the only constant, but you got it. Don't worry about it. And world otherwise has moved on from VUCA, I would say, in a sense, because VUCA is like whatever 1980s concept. Post-COVID, we are all talking about a new acronym, BANI. Okay. For those of you who might have heard it for the first time, it says brittle because many things we think are very unfollowable are actually brittle when change affects them. We have seen global supply chains collapse during COVID. I mean, world just halted in a matter of days. Next is anxious. I mean, lot of anxiety around what things are happening. I know mental health is a topic that I never heard about when I was in college, but I'm sure all of you, it's part of your vocabulary, and it should be also, because it is something that you should actively preserve. Next is N, non-linear. I mean, what are the types of incremental changes? Last year it was like this, now 5% change, next year another 5% change. No, it's not linear. There will be years where nothing happens, and there will be moments where years happen. That's how non-linear the world is. And the last is I, which is incomprehensible. None of us are in a position to comprehend the massive changes that are happening. But that's okay. That's fine. Nobody can. What you can is just control your way of responding to it. So it's fine. Jaisa bhi ho. We are all in a good place. Incremental changes in your life, as long as you're better than yesterday, I think we are all fine, and you are extremely lucky to be in a nice place like MANAGex. So enjoy the 2 years, and for those who are in second years, I know there's a lot of anxiety around placements and all, but that's also fine. This too shall pass. Everybody would be happy at the end of the day. So these are a couple of my thoughts about VUCA.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move on to Priya ma'am for her opening remarks.
Audible? So Swati has, I think, set the stage very well, and it's difficult to speak after an alumni member, and the kind of cheer you gave her, I don't think both of us got that kind of cheer, and I'm feeling so much. I think that was indeed very kind gesture from all of you out here. I would like to begin by saying that, first of all, thank you for having me here. Right? It's an extremely a big privilege. I love the campus. You know, I was coming with Pallavi, and she kind of escorted me right from the airport to the campus. And the only thing I kept saying while I was traveling with her is, "Wow, you have such a lovely campus. Wow, you have such a lovely campus." And like, I don't feel like I am in Hyderabad, because I keep coming to Hyderabad very often for work-related purposes, but I for once did not feel that I am a part of Hyderabad. It's such a lovely campus. And students, I love students. So the vibe that I'm seeing right here is like super positive. And keep the vibe going throughout this entire panel discussion is what I'm going to say. Interesting topic, and that's why I kind of jumped in and I said a yes, and I said, okay, let me go and talk about this, because the topic is all about upskilling. The topic is all about reskilling in the VUCA world. I think VUCA has been spoken enough, okay, and we've also had Swati talk about BANI, so that's enough done and dusted. I'm not going to talk about VUCA, but I'm going to ask you all a question. Okay, and I want some responses out here. I know this question is not meant for you, but probably maybe you have seen your parents. How many of us have seen our parents use a Nokia phone? Whoa. You know, suddenly I feel old because I used to use a Nokia phone. Okay, ouch. Not liking that much, but my first phone happened to be a nice, bright, yellow Nokia phone. You know what was the biggest benefit I had of that phone? Thanks, Archit. Thank you so much. And how come I know Archit is because he's been interacting with me. Otherwise, there's no other way of knowing this gentleman out here. But yes, did you laugh at this, or did you laugh at the fact that I called him a gentleman? I don't want responses to that question. But yes, so that was the biggest factor. You know that it's unbreakable. Today I have an iPhone, and you know it constantly bothers me that if this phone slips from my hand, yeah, you know, right, the feeling? Yes. Gye 10,000, 20,000, pata nahi kitna, right? So you don't know, right, where that amount is going to land. But back in those good old days, my phone fell, it broke into 5 pieces. I collected those 5 pieces. Voila, my phone started working. Brilliant, I love Nokia. And no wonder Nokia had more than 40% of the market share in those days. How many of you sitting out here use a Nokia? Wow. Wow. Whoa. I think we should, can just 3 of you, 4 of you stand up, please? We should give them a round of applause. I'm not responsible for that, right? But the fact is that today most of us have a Samsung, you know, have a OnePlus, have a Xiaomi, have an iPhone, and so on and so forth. What really happened? You can respond. I mean, this is not a lecture that I want to give. What really happened to Nokia? A 40% market share reduced to nothing.
Did not catch up to the change.
Did not catch up to the change. I can only think of 2 words. One is they did not learn. Do you agree with me? They did not learn, right? What did they not learn? They did not learn what the consumers wanted, what the customer wanted, what the market wanted. And second, I believe, is adaptability. They did not adapt to the changes that were taking place, right? And today, as we see, Nokia has been pretty much replaced. I'm going to say pretty much because we have 3 gentlemen who still use Nokia phone, but it is pretty much replaced by the other well-known brands. I am going to talk about pandemic. Everybody knows what happened in pandemic. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
All of us were like locked inside our homes, correct? And pretty much we're operating from there. And there are a lot of changes that we had to bring in our life, isn't it? I mean, I remember I was in Chennai at that point of time. I still continue to be in Chennai. And obviously, you know, as a woman, and all the lovely ladies out here will relate to me, right? One thing that all women love is shopping. Correct? And came pandemic, and all my shopping was, my husband was very happy, but I wasn't very happy because there was no shopping that was happening for me. You know what did I do? So I don't know how many of you recollect that during the pandemic, only once in a week we were allowed to go and purchase grocery. Do you remember those days? There used to be queue, there should be those square blocks marked, you have to stand with some social distancing, maintaining 1 arm length, and all those kind of things, right? So there was a shop called as Nilgiris in Chennai, right? And that's where my husband and I used to go for our weekly shopping. And I was literally, mind you, like a child in a toy store in that Nilgiri shop. Because I picked up things that were not even required. Because that shopper instinct in me was desperately trying to shop. So jo haath laga. It could be a cream, moisturizer, shampoo, something for the house. I just kept buying. And my grocery bill, normally in Nilgiris, would have been like say 500, 600, landed up being 4,000 bucks. So my husband definitely regretted taking me to those kind of shopping sprees. But a lot of you all agree with me when I say that there were a lot of companies during that point of time who actually became bigger and stronger? Yes?
Yes.
Name some companies.
E-commerce.
Sorry?
E-commerce.
Amazon, yes, very good example. Flipkart, Zomato, Uber,
Swiggy.
you know, a lot of insurance companies. Yes. Do you remember companies which went down the drain? Sorry? Because of course for different reasons, but yeah, of course. But there are a lot of companies, you all remember, they also went down the drain. There were also new companies that emerged. Do you remember some new companies that came up? EdTech, yes. And I had the privilege of working in one of them, which is Byju's. Correct? When I was in Byju's during that point of time, our valuation was $22 billion. We were like a super successful firm. Don't ask me the valuation today. But at that point of time, we were $22 billion. It's a new trend. You know, I have a son. And that time, of course, there was no classroom training. You know, so we had to put him into this online class. I really don't know what he studied. Because every time he went to the room, he locked the door and said, Mom, I have to study. It's online classes, do not disturb. So being a good mother, I would say, okay, please go and study. Of course, I'm sure there was no studies happening. Right? I'm sure he was playing some game on the laptop or whatever the case is. But there was so much disruption that happened. And the only thing I can think of the difference, you know, between the companies that survived, thrived, and became emerging leaders, I'm going to call only two words again. One, two, that's it. You learn and you adapt. But adapt, not just adapt, but I would say super fast adaptation. Right? Now you may wonder, why is this Priya talking about Nokia, pandemic? Has she lost it? I mean, here we are talking about upskilling, reskilling, VUCA world. What is all this all about? Trust me, this applies to all of us. It's very close to the world that we are staying in. How many of us like some numbers out there? How many are number people out there? Kisko numbers pasand hai? Finance, numbers. Nobody? Very few people. Okay, no, but since they are also my audience, World Economic Forum. Okay, if you just go by World Economic Forum, right? Some statistics for all of you. They say that 40% of the skills that are relevant today will not be relevant by 2030. Think about it. Roles that are important today, including maybe my role, may not be important in 2030 or maybe 5 years, 6 years down the line. The roles that you will be operating, you know, some of the jobs that you pick up after this degree that you have, some of you will of course come and join Coromandel, right? Lot of your seniors are there with us, right? So all the roles that you will be working for, right? Maybe 5 years, 6 years down the line, don't even exist today. That's how fast it is, and that's why this topic that we are talking about today, upskilling, reskilling, is extremely important. Am I making some sense here?
Yes.
Yeah? So that's the whole thought here, right? You look at Google Maps. I mean, we all of us use Google Maps, yes?
Yes.
Right? That itself keeps updating every time. Imagine if Google Maps was not getting updated. Probably we'll land up in some wrong place, right? We'll get misdirected, right? So that's the importance today. Everything needs to keep changing. We need to adapt, we need to learn, we need to keep moving faster and faster and faster. I'll just take a few more minutes and then of course I'll hand it over to Komal. But it's very important for us to understand that the world that each one of you is going to enter, right, today is all about a digital disruption. Agree with me?
Yes.
Yes? AI, machine learning, robotics, emerging technologies. I really don't think there are any more buzzwords now. They have entered our lives. Right? Nothing is new. Like nothing that we can't say that, okay, what is AI? It's there. It's part and parcel of our life. Right? Each one of us uses in our own sweet way, right? Whatever the case may be. So that's how it is today. And hence, all the more reason why be really your superpower is going to be the skills that you develop, the skills that you keep adapting to, new skills you learn, the level of the current skills, how you up that particular game. All of that is going to matter when we talk about this. Right? And hence, this whole world that we're talking about, upskilling and reskilling, extremely important. It's like, I would say, like a software upgrade. All of us use smartphones, right? Yes. Do you all upgrade your software? Yes. Yes, you get those updates and you all immediately you will do that, right? Why do you do that? What happens? Okay, supposing I don't want to upgrade my software, let it be. How does it matter? What will happen? Sorry? It will hang, it becomes slow, the phone is outdated, so on and so forth. If you can upgrade your phone, don't you think you need to upgrade your skills? It's as simple as that, right? That's what I wanted to say as an opening. And I really thought that this topic is like extremely close to my heart because that's the learning development that comes to me very, very naturally. And I thought that I should definitely say something about this in this particular way. Thank you so much for having me here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hard to continue after that inspiring talk from here. So, yeah, as Swati told, it is comparatively a newer word for me, VUCA. When I was told I had to, take a talk on VUCA, and I was like, what is VUCA? It is quite a new term for me. Apparently it's a Gen Z term. So, I was wondering, is it actually a new concept or is it an old gift wrapped in a new packaging? So, it automatically I raised my mind to my childhood where my parents were working in the office and new computerization and digitalization was taking place. So, for us it is hard to imagine things where computers are not an integral part of our daily lives. Mobile phones are not an integral part of our daily lives. But when we think about our parents, like when we used to send letters to post officers, that old time, when the government was doing privatization and there was a heavy inculcation of computers and technologies, there was a kind of reluctance. It was quite evident in an entire workforce, not only in the office workforce, but also in the factories workers and all were very unsure that is the computer going to take our job. We have heard that the computer will do the job of 4 people, and out of 4, 3 of us will be left unemployed. Similarly, for the factory workers, they were like, all the computer operated machines, will they take our job? Will they, will we be replaced? There was so much of confusion, there was so much of ambiguity for the future. There was vulnerability, volatility, and so on. So, it is not a new concept, it's just a new term for an old concept. Technology has been coming through and through from ages, and this continuous adaptation, continuous change has always been there. So now I would like to recall a bit of evolution chapter from your biology. How many of you remember evolution? I'm sure all of you would be remembering evolution. So as he had told in the start that there is a rule for nature that either you adapt or you extinct, right? Either you adapt or you extinct. And why does that adaptation really needed in our time? To survive, right? So biology chapter se we get to know that species that could not adapt to the rapidly changing environment went extinct. And unfortunately, so things haven't changed much. Even today, we had to adapt to the ever-changing environment. So uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. What is the solution for this? Any guesses? I think my esteemed panelists have already told that. So any guesses? First is adaptability. Any other skills we may develop to, get enhanced with the changing environment? Innovation. The most important I feel that most of us will agree with is data fluency, computer fluency, technology fluency, right? Okay. So we need to adapt, we need to be computer fluent. But more, I feel personally what all of us can do to tackle with this situation is we need to continuously evaluate ourselves. So where do we stand? Where do we stand in today's world? How do we evaluate ourselves? First and the most easiest way is peer evaluation. Our own colleagues, our own fellow students can evaluate each other. We learn from our peers, right? So peer evaluation is something we can do very easily. Second is our mentor. Mentorship in today's world has become not only a privilege, but it should be a necessity, I would say. So when we were in school, one mentor would coach around 5 people, 5 students, and that is how each student, each student would get that focus that they deserve. And yeah, this is what I would like to say in my opening remarks.
We heard from them like what are the changes that we have lived through. We may not have realized it, be it 9/11, 2008 crisis, pandemic. We also learned like how this data AI is going to change the world. What are our learnings? How should we evaluate it? Like Swati ma'am, I'll come to you. Like yesterday I was going through X and there was one tweet that was saying Schrodinger's job. AI are applying for job, AI is reading that application and AI is rejecting. No money is getting hired. So now my question to you is that how has this changed the hiring policy at your organization or in your personal capacity? And what would be the must-have skills that you would say to these new age job seekers who must have to navigate through this time?
I think it's a very important question, especially I know your placement is still around the corner. Luckily, campus placements are still not AI-based screening. Thank God for that, at least the next couple of years at least. So, let me answer this question by walking you through what actually happens in corporate. And I'm privileged to work in an organization which I think is well ahead of its curve because we are completely a role-based, skill-forward organization, which means that the traditional structures that all of you may know, okay, assistant manager, manager, senior manager, general manager, every 3 years you get promoted, that structure we completely disband. And we are one of the first few companies globally to do that, and we have done it across all the 25 countries that we operate in. So what this means is, and all of you please pay attention to this because it's a matter of 4-5 years that other organizations also will start thinking in these lines. So each role has certain jobs, that needs to be done. To do that job, you need certain skills. And skills, for example, a lot of you might get into a sales function. I'm just giving an example. So selling skills is a skill, but different government hangover or a sarkari job hangover, that it was very, very tenure based. Okay, 3 years I was a territory manager, now I have to become a senior territory manager, then whatever general manager is there. But what we do at Dr. Reddy's is completely broken down that hierarchy. Whoever believes that they have the skills at the proficiency level for that job can apply. So I can apply for a national sales manager job if I believe I have the skills at that proficiency level, no questions asked. I may be in HR. It doesn't mean that my career only will be in HR. So we have fluid career where people from sales move to marketing, marketing to supply chain to HR. Because what we believe is that the person has the intent, adaptability, ability to unlearn, relearn, any job can be possible. And honestly, careers are no longer going to be linear. It is going to be a level. And let's please make peace with that. Just make peace with that, because that's how careers are going to be in the future. So what you can do is remember that skill is the only currency that we have. Upskill yourself, be relevant, grow. If you don't upskill yourself, you're not going to be relevant, because AI has already taken away a lot of things right now, and we are looking at tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have not even seen the true power of AI. So for example, since we are talking about AI, like we have a internal enterprise built AI tool which reads everything that's happening in my organization, so that it has a very rich context of the organization, and it's built internally, so that you don't want to share data with other AI tools, because you never know the data privacy bit. So the moment I ask a query to the chatbot, it gives me a context which maybe a CEO has. Because maybe at my level, I may not be part of those boardroom discussions, I may not know, but that chatbot, because it's trained in such a way, it's able to help me in my organization context. And again, we are in 2025, we are just touching the surface. 2030, I mean, I'm a little scared also to imagine what the world is going to be. But again, what I know is those who are lifelong learners will be lifelong earners, will be lifelong leaders. Okay? So, AI or not, just ensure that you are lifelong learners, because I know all of you think that, okay, second year, last exam, I'm just going to like throw my books out. And you may think that your age of giving examination test is going to be over, but let me tell you that life tests us every day. Okay, so to prepare for that daily test, you need to learn every day in your own way. Okay, and luckily opportunities are unlimited, and trust me, AI is not going to take away your job. It is the person who can use the AI better than you going to take away your job. So it's about you using and adapting to whatever is changing the fastest. So like Komal said, it is survival of the fittest. So just be the fittest person in the team.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the beautiful answer. Moving on to PMS, ma'am, world has not only changed digitally but physically also. Some of my friends had, and some of my seniors also are working government, and some of my friends had fortune of working in government, and they said like when they went into the fields and interacted with customers, either dealers or farmers, they realized that the nature of communication has changed. Particularly in sales and marketing, agri-input and fertilizer industry, focus is no longer just on the product, but on customer engagement. Like what specific people skills or what specific new skills that we need to develop to perform better in these roles where we have to face the customers day in, day out. Like what would be your remark on that?
Yeah, before we start, since this question is about Coromandel, I interned in Coromandel. My summer internship was with Coromandel, and I was the first batch to do retail study, feasibility study for MANAGEx. Oh. So we were 3 people interns who were sent to the field to identify locations for the first site of MANAGEx, and I think today MANAGEx is
So then Swati will be definitely happy to hear this. We have stores that we have. Question for you because you kind of sowed the seed of monochroma, but today we have more than 1,000 stores that we talk about. Thanks Anurag for asking that question. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Coromandel and the philosophy of Coromandel. Right? I think that's very important for us to understand from this question perspective. Right? See, every organization has its own mission, vision, those things that you see. When you enter an office, there will be some lovely looking charts that are put up or boards that are put up talking about vision, value. But there is one thing that we as every person in Coromandel that firmly believe in, and that's a principle that we have taken from Arthashastra. It very clearly says that in every transaction that we have, with anybody, right, we ensure that person wins, and in doing so, we win ourselves. It's a very beautiful but yet very powerful, right? I'm going to repeat it because it's extremely close to my heart, right? In any transaction that we have, we ensure that the opposite person wins, and in doing so, we win in the process also, right? That's the principle of Arthashastra. And it even more applies because our customers happen to be farmers. I'm going to extrapolate because we are talking about VUCA, right? I am going to extrapolate VUCA in a farmer's life. Rather than me doing it, let's do it together. Do you think there is volatility in a farmer's life? Yes. What could be some of the volatility that is there? Prices, right? Climate, yeah, brilliant. Okay. Is there uncertainty for him? Yes. Yes. Like for example, the yield, yeah, we don't know what the yield is going to be. I don't know what the rainfall is going to be. Last year we had bad rain, this year we have amazing rain. Right? So it's a very uncertain world that he or she lives in. Right? Is it complex? Yes? Yes. It is. Because there's so many factors at the same time. His or her yield doesn't depend on one thing. It depends upon the soil. Is my soil condition good? Is the climate favorable? Is the regulation favorable? Unfortunately, fertilizer is a regulated industry, whether we like it or we don't like it, right? I don't know, tomorrow, somebody might just turn up and say, hey, regulations change. It's changed for him also, right? It's very uncertain. It's extremely ambiguous. And hence, it is extremely important for all of us at Coromandel to look at this vision that we have, or mission that we have of Arthashastra, and apply it to the VUCA world of the farmer. And looking at all of these things, we look at very strong skills. Like you said, Anurag, product knowledge is extremely important. You cannot do without it. And I'm not going to say product knowledge is not important. Somebody tell me why product knowledge is equally important. Any idea? Should you know your product? Yes, no? Yes. We all should know our product, and we constantly keep innovating on our product, right? It's important to know your product. Because trust me, when you meet the farmer, some of you when you join Coromandel and we will put you through, the induction process where you go to the field, meet the farmer will know much more than you. He will be knowing much more than you. And hence, having that knowledge about the product, which product, when to apply, what to do, which product, which crop, which season is extremely important. Having said that, there is the other part, which is the softer part, which is empathy. And I'm going to clearly call this out because it's very important for us to put ourselves in the farmer's shoes. It's very important for us to look at solution focus, not product focus. And I'll give you an example. When we train our employees, right? We don't train them on product. We don't say that ये product है जाके बेचो. We don't say that. When a farmer walks into our store, for example, let's say he walks into our retail store, right? We sell only what the farmer wants. Supposing the farmer walks in and says, give me XYZ product. I'm just giving an example. Our executives will not give you the product. They will first ask, why she wants this particular product? What is the problem that you are facing? Only when they understand the problem, when they empathize with the farmer, they will know whether this product is suitable or not suitable. And I'd also give you an extremely proud of this, because if the executive feels that we don't have a product that suits the farmer, they will send the farmer empty-handed, but they will not sell the wrong product. That's what I believe. Do you think it's an advantage to do that? That I didn't sell a product, I lost the sale. But you're going to gain a lot of other things like trust. And you know, in this farmer's world, it's all word of mouth. It's all word of mouth. If something works for me, I'm going to go and tell 10 other people this works for me. If something works for me, I'm going to say, hey, please go and buy from that store, because you know that's the store that gives you the right kind of solution. Correct? And hence, it's extremely important for us to have this brilliant skill called as empathy. We use this word so loosely these days, you know, empathy. But I believe that if I want to deal with a farmer, this is the top 4 skill that I need to have, along with, of course, other skills. Right? When we are, in Coromandel, it's not just about fertilizers. It's not just about crop protection, solutions. It's today we are into the business of drones. How many of you all know that we have acquired a company called as Daksha? Right? So when we talk to a farmer, it's not just about product, it is also about farming solutions, soil testing, drone solutions. So we are trying to see how we can partner with the farmer to make his or her life easier. Third thing, and since we're all talking about all of these things, digital. We are trying to ensure that our farmers are becoming more and more digital savvy. We have apps for them. And we need to train our farmers, equip them with the skills so that they understand how to place orders from the app, understand how climate changes happen, all those things they can monitor from simple apps which we have developed in-house, which we are now utilizing for the farmers. So we are looking at skills which are like empathy, we are looking at skills which are solution providers, we are looking at skills which are partners. And why are we doing all of this? Because we understand that the farmer has a VUCA world. Right? He or she may not understand things like we do, but we need to be partners. We need to build that trust. We need to build that connect. We need to build a long-term relationship with the farmer. It's not one season. It's time and again. Right? That's what we are talking about out here. And building on the foundation of our Shastra always. If the farmer will win, Coromandel is also win. Thanks.
Ma'am, as we see that now the world has become all about data. I won't be wrong if I say that at least once a day, each one of us get an ad saying, get trained for 1 rupee in data analytics. So, like my question to you is, like for students who come from more traditional background, like as us, we are mostly from agriculture and allied background, how we can bridge that gap between being in doing data analysis and then real world knowledge that we bring to the table. So what kind of programs, upskilling or reskilling programs, how we can do that? Can you share something about that?
So, I understand you are asking people who come from more cultural background, those who do not have such ready access to the internet, right? So, first of all, I feel the most important role there is where the institution comes in. laboratories, or they can um, ask their people to practice on the computer to gain hands-on experience with the internet. Second is the government. I would say government can hold community programs in the villages where the youth of the villages can come and avail to those programs. And third is, I feel the government of India has to a large extent um, done digitalization, and the at least each person have a smartphone in their hand, right? So they can avail online courses, they can avail programs that are available for free or maybe for minimum charges. They are available at the internet. Again, I would say, if someone says we will upgrade you for 1 rupee, it isn't that bad if you look at it, right? So people from the remote area, from the more cultured area, can actually benefit from these sort of programs online. Yeah. So one is the institution, I would say. Second is government, and we can make individual efforts to ourselves, educating ourselves online.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this remark. Now, as we are running short of time, we'll open the floor to the questions from the audience. After that, we'll take a closing remark from our panel. So, anyone who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Then we stand up and ask the question. Yes, Harsh.
As we're talking about changes, industrial changes and fast-paced world, what better example than the pharmaceutical industry itself? With the high-intense R&D cycles as well as the technical skills that get redundant very like in a short period of time. So, as being a talent management ready, what strategies do you look for to reskill and redeploy that talent which has been there internally for a long period of time, or do you look outside the organization to hire a new?
To simplify what Harsh is asking, and he's trying to answer. Like for your organization or your employees, what kind of reskilling or upskilling programs you have, or what kind of programs you invest in?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think one part of the question was pharma is first of all a very very R&D heavy or skill heavy industry in itself. And more importantly, I think India pharmaceutical industry is India actually is called the pharmacy of the world. Okay, because a lot of raw material for the bigger brands that we hear from the West are actually supplied from India. And affordability is becomes the key. So how do you manufacture the best product at the most value for the customer is the paradigm that we operate in, and it's again like fertilizers is also a very heavily regulated industry also. So what we do, sorry, what's the name? Harsha. So what we do is first hiring. So what kind of people that we want inside. The only thing is people who are adaptable, who are ready to learn. Okay? Because we hire a lot of people with scientific background. I mean PhDs, from the best of the institute, they come from this really niche skill. But that skill may be relevant at that point in time, but 15 years the molecule science would change, a lot of things would change. So what is important is this scientist who has already invested let's say 10-15 years into studying that is ready to adapt for the next 15 years. So that becomes extremely important thing. And hence, while we do use AI for shortlisting and all that, because the number of applicants becomes humanly impossible for anybody to shortlist, but the hiring decision is left to an individual to use the discretion while hiring. Okay. So once they get the person, next the journey is how do you upskill the person, how do you ensure that the person's skills are relevant. So for that, I think we have like one of the largest learning repository. I mean, because again the science is very very deep. So is the technology. So it is not just the R&D scientists, but we have allied things like DPEC is called Digital Product Excellence Team, where a lot of technical engineers are also part of our ecosystem. We have a sales force of 9,000 1,000 employees. So imagine the spectrum of learners, right from somebody who's in the lab, somebody who's in a factory. Okay, lab doing the R&D and saying this is the molecule of the future. Next it comes to somebody manufacturing that molecule. Next somebody who's actually marketing that. Next is somebody who's actually going to the doctor and selling that, both in India as well as in the other countries that we operate in. So for this entire spectrum, we ensure that there are certain learning that happens continuously and which need not be only in their area. Like we have a program called Digital Ninja, which is only about upskilling about what's happening, the latest technology in the field. So somebody in the manufacturing production operator may not really have any necessity or even interest to know about the digital things, but we ensure that even that person is aware of it, and then we have a lot of mandatory learning hours in a year. Okay, so this helps that we have employees who are more fungible. By fungible, what I mean is wherever there are exigencies in the skill set, I can deploy this talent. Otherwise, the problem, what happens if somebody is a specialist and grows only vertically, it becomes very difficult for that person to adapt to anything horizontal. So, generalist skills is something that as an organization we very heavily invest in. Vertical is something that the person invests, and that's how we continuously upskill the organization.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering that. Any more questions from the Yes, Ayush.
My name is K.S. Ayush, first year engineering major. My question is, while most of the people navigate easily through the technical round, like our field, we are BSc AP students. So we are technically sound, so we can navigate through the technical round, but most of them cannot go far behind the HR round. So what do you think the skills that differ person who is going through it and who is not doing it?
Yeah, ma'am. Like,
I think all three should
yeah,
take
yeah.
and really
Like,
start with the
what he's asking is trying to ask, like, what you look in a candidate at an interview, like what an HR person looks in a candidate in an interview.
So Ayush, unfortunately, the knowledge of whether it is agriculture or anything is extremely democratic. Today I can pick up a mechanical engineer, ask him what are the good practice, what is it, I forgot the name, but for agriculture practice for a 1 hectare paddy to double its yield. Okay, that guy will be able to answer me. All he needs is a mobile phone, is the internet, and that's it. So actually knowledge is democratized. Okay. So what I personally look for in a person is, does the person have the ability to connect the dots? This is the thinking. In hypothetical situation, how are you actually doing the file byte? Like how are you actually breaking down the process? And how are you able to communicate that to me? So that is the critical aspect that I look for a candidate, because rest all is trainable. When I was in L&T, last name to grow, which is then was in construction, we actually developed a chatbot which tells the person who's laying the road in some remote area in like Chhattisgarh or something, exactly what is the ratio of tar, bitumen, what temperature it should be, and on an app. It's an app all our employees would have. You just have to say, okay, this is the temperature, how much should I add tar? It will give an answer. So I don't need engineers for that. I need a person who can answer the right questions, because the answers are available. And answers, if you have the humility to learn, you'll ask the next person as well. Okay? But you should know how to ask the right questions. So that is the only thing that I look for in a person while interviewing.
Yeah, ma'am, you remark on that.
First for Ayush, second year? So you're asking this question well in advance. So that's a good somewhat. Okay. That's the relevance to the question. If you had asked me this question maybe, let's say a few years earlier, Ayush, right? I would have probably said, one line, which is, you hire for attitude and you train for skills. Correct? That would have been a simple answer. Not saying that attitude is not important today, but today I'm going to say you hire for learning agility and you train for skill. Okay? Because as per me, the only thing that is important is how fast the person can unlearn and learn. And I know I'm giving the same message, but that message is very important. Learning agility is what I would look for. Is the person hungry to learn? If the person comes in an interview and says, I have done it all, that's too bad. If that's the attitude, then I don't think I would want a person, right? Because many a times you would have done a job which is a replica, right? I mean, it's not that every job is going to be 100% different, isn't it? Right? Today, when I had learning and development, I've led learning and development in the past now. Why did I pick up Coromandel? Because I felt that there was so much to learn for me personally, right? Because I come from a banking, financial space. Manufacturing is so new to me. I have never done an industry like manufacturing. I have never done an industry like agriculture. Okay? So for me, I always look at what is there to learn. What can I learn in this entire job? Right? That's what I look at in a candidate is learning agility. How fast are you able to learn? Do you have that hunger to learn? Are you curious? Okay? And I get these cues from questions which I ask the candidate, towards the end. I always ask, do you have anything to ask me? And the moment the candidate says, no ma'am, all okay. For me, it's a in Gen Z language, red flag. Right? But the moment the candidate says, yes ma'am, I want to know, can you tell me something more? Tell me about the organization, tell me about the job. The curiosity is what attracts me, because now I know this person is looking forward to working, wants to know what the job is all about. So I'm going to say learning agility, and that's what I will hire for. Everything else is completely.
Most of the aspects have been covered, but I think your question that you had asked is so connected with the VUCA topic that we have today. Learn continuously, and Priya has rightfully said, learn continuously. What we look in on candidates, see most of the technical skills have been evaluated in the technical round. Why is there a need for HR round? HR round is mostly for getting to know the candidate's right attitude. If the candidate has the right attitude to adapt to the organization's environment, what exactly is the candidate looking for? What exactly are we looking for in a candidate? Right? So it should be give and take there. So that is where we should be able to reach a middle ground. So it shouldn't be like we are looking for something and we expect the candidate to bow down to each and every wishes of the organization. Like 3 years में सबने देखा हुआ 3 years में how that person forgetting his name. No, not the one who attends the interview. So yeah, right. So there are candidates who are willing to bow down to the organization, wins and fancy, but there are candidates who are too stiff and nahi hame nahi chahiye. We will not adapt. We will not adjust. It should be a middle ground that we are looking for. More importantly, it should be a learning attitude of the candidate that we are looking for.
I think we can go for one more question here.
During our discussion, we came across the word of non-linear career trajectory in the VUCA word. So based on that, I would like to ask a question like if in some organizations which are highly specialized and hierarchical, they are specialized in a single industry and they want people who are perfect in that. So if a new person comes who has had a non-linear career trajectory, will he or she be penalized for the lack of the depth of the knowledge that he has in the previous career and now they want to come over there? Will they be penalized for lack of the depth?
Can I take that question? Okay, because I had a non-linear career. So I started
then MANAGEx procurement for some people, 7 years in procurement. But my calling in life was something else. So I took that risk, left a very, very safe place as ITC, a safe career like ITC, did my second master's, and now I'm in HR. It is completely non-linear. I mean, if I was in procurement, of course, it's a different career path. This is a completely different career path. Am I penalized? No. I'm actually benefiting from that because the inside view that I have of business as somebody who was part of supply chain is actually helping me very much in HR. Okay, because if my career was in HR completely, my perspective would have been different. I mean, I'm not saying good, bad, ugly, but my perspective would be different. But now my perspective, having that business understanding of how, supply chain and the entire manufacturing and the entire end-to-end supply chain start from procurement till selling, that's the entire dance topic, is giving a completely different perspective, which is actually helping me stand out. So no experience is, a waste. I mean, those of you who have read Steve Jobs' biography, I mean, every experience, I mean, he was somebody who attended classes in calligraphy. Now, how does calligraphy help in startup which is in tech? But it helps, right? Every moment that you are investing in learning something is never a waste. And honestly, now organizations are actually looking for talent with diverse experience, not only for the skill set, but also it just shows that the person is ready to take that risk and is ready to unlearn and relearn. Because I unlearned a lot of things that I would have otherwise done as a procurement person, and I relearned what it takes to be an HR, right? So it just shows that the person is adaptable. So in short, no, if the person is hired, I mean, the person is hired for a reason, so no, they will not be penalized. For all you know, it's actually an added advantage.
I just want to add, so let me get your name.
My name is Rishikesh.
Rishikesh, you can ask. Rishikesh, I want to, probably give some examples out here. Because, and one thing I think all of us should probably bear in mind is that not all career trajectories are linear. It's important for us to understand that. Okay, so if I'm moving laterally, that itself is also a career trajectory. Now let me look at Coromandel, because that's what that's where I'm working. We've had people. I take my own CHR. I think there's no better example than my CHR, who joined as a management trainee. Okay. He went into HR. Then he went into handling a business of single superphosphate. Came back to HR. Then went to handle a retail business, completely different. Then came back to HR. So there's a lot of shift that is happening. Correct? You can see that happening, and it's not like it's a vertical movement, it's lateral movement. Right? Today in Coromandel, when we do our talent management, and why I'm giving this example is because we just completed this exercise, right? And we were looking at the exercise of succession planning. Some of the key factors that we look at when we identify a successor. One, which are the different functions or business units that this person has worked with. So if I have worked only in HR, vis-a-vis Rishikesh, if you have worked, let's say, HR, fertilizers, you have worked in crop protection, you have worked in finance, you have the length and breadth of it, although at the same level, and I'm growing vertically, you will be a better candidate. Correct? So I'm looking at, is the person having a cross-business unit exposure? Second, I'm looking at, is this person flexible, mobile? Right? What are the person's aspirations? Correct? Is the person only looking at a vertical growth, saying that, no, I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm going to stay in HR. I'm going to work only in HR. I have to grow vertically. So today as an organization, we take those conscious calls. And we say that, for example, if Priya says, no, I'm going to work only in HR. Please don't put me into the fertilizer unit. I don't want to go to the plant. We actually take conscious calls and say, Priya, then your career will fall here. Correct? If you want your career trajectory to move further, you need a in disguise. Okay? If somebody tells you pick up a lateral movement, please grab it with both hands and go ahead with this, because today organizations are looking at those skills. They don't want only specialists. Of course, certain roles there will be specialists. You can't like I don't think I can go into let's say an R&D role in an agriculture, right? And that's not possible for me. I don't have that background, correct? But can I look at an HR role in a plant? Yes, of course I can. Can I look at maybe something related to maybe a product or something else, right? Very much possible. There are a lot of things that you can do, right? So I have L&D, I have talent management, I have compensation and benefits, I have HR business partnering. There are so many things that I can do. Am I shutting myself up? If that's the question. So I would consider natural school in this side. Grab it with both hands, you will never regret it in your life.
And just adding on to Priya, you gave an example of a CHR and also Leslie.
Absolutely. My boss.
So Leslie was the campus lead
Yeah.
in 2007 when we came to summer. So I was interviewed by him. So a lovely role model for
Yeah, and it's not sorry, we have one, we have many. Our finance head has moved into managing business. Our okay, forget that. Our finance person moved into becoming a business head. Now is our MD and CEO. And that would have happened only because the person has moved across, right? Now imagine if he had said, oh, I'm in finance, please grow me only in finance, don't send me to business, I don't understand business, right? Who did this time? Remember this.
Yeah, I was just listening to the panelists, and yes, of course, see, any growth is growth at the end of the day. What I understood by your question, Rishi, is do you, I think it's clear that there would be a penalization of whether I have moved from one department to another, one field to another, will I be asked questions? Yes, most probably you will be. But the thing is, you should be able to find the similar grounds in both the fields that you have chosen. Like, there's a term called connecting the dots. You should be able to connect the dots between the non-linear career path that you have chosen. At the end of the day, it is knowledge. Any knowledge is not a wasted knowledge. So suppose yesterday I was in marketing, today I am in HR. How can I incorporate both the knowledge in one field, in a common denominator? That is where I will be able to justify myself. And non-linear career graph is actually not a bad thing, as Priya has rightfully said. It is indeed a boon in disguise. The thing is, we should be able to know what have we learned, how much do we need to carry forward to our next job, how much is required, what is the common ground, what is the connecting dot, and what are the things we need to unlearn from our previous job.
Nice round of discussion from our panel. Before we move on to our final remarks, what we have learned from this discussion is that we should be ready to adapt. Reskilling and upskilling is a lifelong process. We should be ready to do it. And here I would like to remind that quote from Steve Jobs that said, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect the dots moving backwards. You would not know, like, why are you here? You would not know going ahead would this be beneficial or not. You will only know it when you reach there. So now in 1 or 2 minutes, I just like our panel's closing remarks on how to future-proof our career in this changing world. Like, what kind of would you like to share some resources, books that we should look for, we should be active on to future-proof our career.
So, future is a very, very long-term thing. Yesterday it was VUCA, today 1 year, 15, 20 years into your career it will be something else. But I think a couple of principles that will stay relevant irrespective of the time would be one, that stay hungry, stay foolish, would be that lifelong learner. Understand that adaptability is an achievement in itself. So don't run after those shiny trophies. If you are able to adapt to new situations, that itself is good. connections that you will have with another human being. Okay, so it's almost us versus the unknown world of AI, and for that you should open your heart and your mind to make those genuine connections with another human being with empathy and
I think Swati has pretty much said it all, right? I just want to say, one simple thing out here is that, like I said, that you are all entering into a very different world, right? So it's a process of learning is what I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to say this, that it's like sharpening your pencil. Right? We all have done that, we still continue to do that. Why do we do that? I know that it's not a very great process, it's very uncomfortable. I mean, if you think from the pencil's point of view, I know it's not a human object, but think from that pencil's perspective, it's very hurting, it may be uncomfortable, but only when the pencil is sharpened is the pencil useful and effective. Yes? Right? That's what I'm going to say. Right? It's very important for us to take a step back, reflect, think beyond your curriculum. I think all of us, Swati was talking about that once you step out of the 2 years, you're going to just throw this book away. Whether you throw the book or not, but I right now also want to say, think beyond your curriculum. What are the skills that you are adapting, using, skilling yourself? Think about those things. I do not consider AI as my enemy. Be very honest. Okay? I consider AI as my director. Okay? I basically tell AI what is to be done and AI gets it done. Right? So that's the relationship I look at. Right? Today, everything is possible. Trust me. You pick up ChatGPT, you pick up Perplexity, any tool, you pick up a Canva, you pick up anything under the sun. I think all is possible through AI. I don't look at it as saying that, okay, is my job as a threat? No. I'm looking at it as a possibility. How can I enhance what I'm doing today? How can I make L&D more AI savvy? What are the tools that I can use into L&D or into employee engagement or a talent management? All of these things is what I look at. I'm going to say the same thing for you. Look at everything with only one lens, and that's the lens of a learning mindset. It doesn't matter. If you have a learning mindset, and that's exactly the message I've been giving from the beginning, if you have a learning mindset, if you have adaptability, trust me, you can win this game. It's like a shark, right? Everybody knows a shark, right? Yes. Do you know what a shark does normally? Sorry? Grab opportunity. A shark, if you read about a shark is a fish that constantly keeps swimming. Do you know why? Absolutely. The moment it stops swimming, it will sink. For us, skill building is exactly like that. We constantly need to upskill, we constantly need to reskill. If we stand still, we will, and then all of you will have a FOMO of skills. Okay? I'm sure you don't want to have the FOMO of skills, so keep upskilling and keep reskilling. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so mostly the topics are covered. Something I would like to say that there's no specific book or one online portal that you can recommend to you, which will be applicable to all of you. There's nothing umbrella course that is available that will be applicable to all of your needs, all of your future aspirations. What we can, the best we can do here is guide you to the next step. So, yes, adding to the panel's ever-learning attitude, that is very important. One thing I would like to say from my side is free help is always available immediately around you. You only need to identify it. One I would like to say is, if possible, get for yourself. Most of you might already be having a mentor. Mentor is something that will we always need mentors no matter at what stage of our career we are. Even those of us who are an executive in a company, manager in a company, most of us have coaches and mentors in companies as well who inspire us to upskill ourselves. We always will need guidance. We can self-evaluate, we can upskill ourselves according to our own understanding, but it is, always helpful to have a person around us who knows something better than us and who can inspire us, who can guide us and actually tell us this is your, critically tell us yes, this is your thing that you need to change, this is what you are not really good at, you need to improve on this. So yes, that is why you will need someone who can mentor you. So that having been said, yes, ever-learning attitude, having the right agility and adaptability in today's environment is very important.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, I thank our panelists for sharing such beautiful insights. I am sure our students, our graduates would be walking away with valuable lessons from this and would at least have some idea on how to prepare for this dynamic and changing world. Now, I would like to request our head, KRISHI CHANAKYA sir, to please come and present our panelists with a gift on behalf of MANAGEx. First, we'll request Martina to come and receive the gift and I was begging to call Ma'am Priyanka. Now I will request the